How many times have you told yourself, tomorrow I start? How many times have you sworn with full conviction, now I'm going all in this time for real? And yet, here you are, standing in the exact same place. Not because you lack talent, not because you lack dreams, not because you're incapable. No, you're here because you've been waiting, waiting for the perfect moment, waiting to feel ready, waiting for the universe to magically align everything for you. But here's the harsh truth, the one people spend their whole lives avoiding. Waiting is a polite form of surrender, a sophisticated way of giving up without admitting you gave up, asterisk, asterisk. And the time you're losing is not being lost in failure. It's being lost in excuses. Every excuse buries you a little deeper, inside the same life you claim you want to change. This is not a motivation video. This is a confrontation. Because if you don't take action soon, your goals won't just fade. They will collapse into ruins. And the most painful part, you'll have to live with that. Today we're going to rewrite your story through the wisdom of Napoleon Hill. It might sting at first, but will also set you free. Because it's never about what you know. It's about what you do with what you know. And if you have the courage to stay here until the end, you will not walk away the same person who pressed play. Listen carefully. The greatest destroyer of dreams has never been failure, or poverty, or criticism, or even fear. The real killer is much quieter, much more elegant, much more disguised. It's staying still. It's that tiny microsecond when you feel the impulse to act, but you choose to wait. That innocent little pause, that seems harmless, but over time destroys everything. Napoleon Hill said it plainly. An idea has no value until it becomes action. And you have ideas. You have dreams. You have potential, but you've trapped them in the museum of someday. You've confused preparation with postponement. And the more you think, the less you do. Time is not forgiving. Life will not pause its clock because you're confused. And every day you choose not to move. You're training your mind to doubt itself. Staying still is not neutral. Every time you hesitate, your brain registers danger. Not real danger, but emotional danger. What if I fail? What will people think? What if this isn't the right moment? So instead of acting, you freeze. You justify. You negotiate with your own weakness. It's not the right time yet. I need to fix a few things first. When I feel ready, I'll start. But hear this clearly. You will never feel ready. The perfect moment doesn't exist. And if it did, it already passed. Every time you decide not to act, you're making a decision. A real one. Staying still is a choice. A choice you've repeated so many times that it silently became your identity. You become the person who plans, but doesn't execute. Who dreams, but doesn't risk. Who talks, but doesn't move. And that way of living destroys your confidence. Your subconscious is always watching you. It notices every promise you break to others, and more importantly, to yourself. This is why when you say, tomorrow I start, you don't even believe it anymore. You broke that internal pact so many times that your word has lost its weight. Do you see it now? Paralyzing doubt steals your power. Without making a sound, it's a silent thief that doesn't break down your door. It walks in because you let it. Napoleon Hill taught it this way. Any action is better than inaction. Success always favors the one who dares. You don't need all the answers. You don't need certainty. You don't need confidence. You just need one thing. Movement. A step. Even a small one. Even a clumsy one. Even an uncomfortable one. Because every tiny step is a declaration to the universe. I am moving, even if it's not perfect. And in that exact moment, everything begins to shift. You're no longer the one who waits. You become the one who decides, the one who acts, the one who changes. And that, my friend, changes everything. How many times have you waited to feel motivated before starting something? And more importantly, how many times did that motivation never arrive? That's the problem. Motivation is a mirage, a weak spark disguised as strength. Napoleon Hill understood this from the beginning. Action is the true measure of intelligence. Motivation is not action. Motivation is emotion. And emotions change. One day you wake up ready to conquer the world. The next day, you can't even find the energy to get out of bed. One day, you swear you're going to change your life. The next day, you can't even find the motivation to shower. Does that mean you're weak? No. It means you're relying on the wrong fuel. Motivation is emotion. Discipline is decision. Motivation promises movement, but only when you feel inspired. Discipline forces movement, even when you don't want to, even when you're tired, even when you're scared. And here's the painful truth almost no one wants to admit. Motivation isn't found. Motivation is created, asterisk, asterisk, and it is created by movement, by taking steps, by showing up, by choosing action over emotion. Everything you've been taught is backwards. You don't need motivation to start. You need to start to feel motivated, because emotion follows action, never the other way around. Think of every person you admire, every creator, every entrepreneur, every athlete, every leader. Do you think they woke up every day inspired? No. Most of them started because they were tired. Tired of their own excuses. Tired of their circumstances. Tired of living a life that wasn't theirs. They didn't wait for the moment to feel ready. They didn't wait for clarity. They didn't wait for energy. They moved. They acted. They took a single step. And with each step, emotion followed. Confidence followed. Momentum followed. Motivation arrived as a consequence, not a requirement, because that's how the human spirit works. Motivation is like the weather. Unpredictable, unstable, inconsistent. Discipline is like fire. Once you learn how to light it, it never goes out. The reason people fail isn't because they lack ability. It's because they're waiting for an emotional push that never comes. They sit. They wait. They hesitate. They distract themselves. Then they wonder why nothing changes. It's simple. Everything stays the same because they keep waiting to feel something instead of doing something. And here comes the real truth. Motivation is an excuse wearing a pretty mask. Every time you say, "I don't feel like it today," what you're really saying is, "Today I let my emotions decide my destiny." But you weren't created for that. You were created to rule your mind, not obey it. You were created to act, even when you're afraid, even when you're unsure, even when your hands shake. And the more you act, the stronger you become. The more you keep your word, the more you trust yourself. And once you trust yourself, you don't need motivation. You only need your word. Napoleon Hill wrote, "The man who masters his mind can master the world." But mastery doesn't come through inspiration. Mastery comes through repetition, through acting when you don't want to, through keeping promises no one else can see, through showing up like the leader of your own life, even when no one applauds you. That is the birth of real power. Not feeling good, but doing what's right, no matter how you feel. That is the discipline that transforms. Your problem was never that you couldn't change. Your problem is that you've been trying to build a new life with the same identity that created the one you want to escape. You want different results, but you keep showing up as the same version of you. And that can't work. It has never worked. Napoleon Hill taught something most people never understood. Positive thinking doesn't work. If your identity is still negative, asterisk, asterisk, you can read every book, watch every video, write every goal, repeat every affirmation. But if, deep down, you still believe you're the person who quits, who hesitates, who needs to feel ready before acting, nothing will change, because your life will always mirror the identity you're loyal to. You don't act randomly. You act according to who you believe you are. If you see yourself as lazy, you act with laziness. If you see yourself as inconsistent, you'll sabotage anything you try to build. And the most dangerous part? You don't even notice it. Every thought you repeat, every excuse you defend, every habit you ignore is reinforcing an identity you never consciously chose, an identity you absorbed from parents, teachers, society, trauma, rejection, fear. Someone once told you, people like you don't succeed. You weren't born lucky. That's not for someone like you. Be realistic. And you believed it, not because it was true, but because you heard it young. You heard it often, and no one taught you how to reject it. So now you're an adult, living inside a version of yourself, designed by the limitations of others. But here's the truth. You can change your identity. You don't have to live with that old version of you. You can bury it. You can dissolve it. You can outgrow it. You can choose a new one today. A version where you're not the one who doubts, but the one who decides. Not the one who waits, but the one who moves before he feels ready. Not the one who wants discipline, but the one who is disciplined. A version where you don't try to be consistent. Your consistency. That is the difference between temporary change and real transformation. Temporary change modifies actions. Real transformation rewires identity. Don't say, I want to be consistent. Say, I am consistency. Don't say, I want more discipline. Say, I am discipline. Don't say, I'll try to change. Say, this is my new version. Your mind needs to hear that. Your body needs to feel that. The universe needs to witness that. Because when your identity changes, your decisions change. And when your decisions change, your destiny changes. Nobody who achieved something extraordinary did it with their old identity still alive. They had to kill it. They had to bury the weak self. They had to release the victim mindset. They had to step out of the shell and become the creator of their own life. They had to stop asking for permission. They had to stop waiting for approval. They had to stop saying, I'm not like that, and start saying, I'm no longer that person. I choose who I am now. You are no longer the version of you that needs motivation to act. You are no longer the version that waits for signs or perfect timing. You are no longer the version that hides, avoids, postpones, or apologizes for existing. You are someone new, born today, forged today, declared today, and maybe the world doesn't see it yet. Maybe even your family doesn't recognize it, but you know it, and that is enough, because what you repeat internally sooner or later becomes visible externally. If you respect yourself, the world begins to respect you. If you take yourself seriously, the universe aligns with your seriousness. If you decide this is not a game, your reality shifts immediately. Transformation doesn't begin when you achieve something. Transformation begins when you decide to be someone new. You don't need another goal. You need a stronger identity, one that automatically pulls your decisions in the right direction. That identity is already inside you. It wasn't gone, just buried under excuses, doubts, and fears. But today, you're waking it up. Most people are not trapped by their reality. They're trapped by their mind. A prison they built without noticing. A prison made of old opinions, old fears, old wounds, old voices that were never theirs to begin with. You're dreaming too big. That's not for people like you. Be realistic. Don't aim too high. And layer by layer, moment by moment, you absorb those ideas. Like poison disguised as advice. You didn't just inherit your father's eyes or your mother's smile. You inherited their fears, their insecurities, their limits. You absorbed criticism, rejection, bullying, trauma, silence, shame, and without realizing it, you build a cage inside your own mind. Napoleon Hill warned about this. Over 80 years ago, your dominant thoughts shape your reality. So if the thoughts that dominate your mind are doubt, scarcity, fear, hesitation, how can you possibly move forward? How can you build something big while your identity is programmed to stay small? The real enemy is not the world, not the economy, not your past. The enemy is the voice in your head, the voice that whispers, what if you fail? What if you embarrass yourself? What will people think? And you obey it. You follow it. You believe it. You treat it like truth. But listen to me, that voice is not your truth. That voice is your conditioning. Asterisk, asterisk. It is the sum of every insecurity you absorbed when you were too young to defend yourself. And today, that voice thinks it still owns you. But it doesn't. Not anymore. That voice only survives because you keep obeying it. Every time you postpone, every time you freeze, every time you reach for the phone instead of taking action, you feed it, you strengthen it, you reinforce it. But watch what happens when you do the opposite, when you speak up, when you want to stay silent, when you show up, when you want to hide, when you post, even though you feel insecure, when you start, even though your hands shake, when you choose now, even though your mind screams later. That's when the voice starts to die. Every act of courage shrinks it. Every step weakens it. Every bold move starves it. Napoleon Hill said, "Negative thought is a seed. If you do not pull out, it becomes a tree." And today is the day. You pull out. You are done needing permission. You are done seeking approval. You're done waiting for applause. You don't need your family to understand you. You don't need your friends to support you. You don't need anyone to agree with your path. You need one thing: to break the cage. The cage built from, "You can't. You shouldn't. What will they say? Maybe tomorrow. I'm not ready." That cage doesn't break with thinking. It doesn't break with planning. It breaks with movement, with decisions, with truth, with action. It breaks the moment you say, "My future matters more than my comfort." If you reached this point in the video, it's because something inside you is already waking up. You're done hiding, done shrinking, done delaying, done betraying yourself. You feel it, you know it, and you cannot go back to sleep now. This is the moment you stop obeying the old voice and start walking into the identity you were always meant to embody. There's a force almost no one understands. A force silent but transformative. Invisible but unstoppable. Not flashy, not dramatic, not loud. Yet capable of reshaping an entire destiny. It is called constant momentum. And without it, you are at a disadvantage in life. Most people start with fire, with excitement, with intensity, with passion. But that fire dies in a few days because they never learned the real secret. It's not what you do when you're motivated. It's what you do when you're not. Asterisk, asterisk. Napoleon Hill said it clearly. Constant effort beats intermittent talent. Momentum is born in repetition and showing up again and again and again. Not because it's easy, but because it's required. Momentum is that force that activates when you choose consistency over emotion, decision over doubt, movement over hesitation. It's like pushing a train. At first, it doesn't move. It's heavy. It's slow. It hurts. It demands everything. And most people give up right here. Not because they're incapable, but because they don't understand that nothing moves at the beginning. But if you keep pushing, day after day, without restarting, without quitting, something magical happens. The weight becomes momentum. The effort becomes identity. The discipline becomes instinct. And what once demanded every ounce of strength begins to move on its own. That is the power of constant momentum. Few people on earth ever activate it because they make one fatal mistake. They restart. They start a new habit, then stop. They begin a project, then pause. They commit to a new identity, then abandon it at the first discomfort. And every time they restart, they lose the most valuable energy they have been building, their momentum. Because every single day you push forward, even if the progress is invisible, you are laying down an invisible brick in the foundation of your new identity. Brick after brick, choice after choice, step after step. And when you repeat, repeat, there comes a moment when everything flips. You no longer try to discipline yourself. You're disciplined. You no longer try to be consistent. Consistency is your nature. You no longer push yourself forward. The momentum carries you. That is the moment when you become unstoppable. That is when your identity fully shifts. That is when your old self dies permanently. But nearly no one gets there because they judge themselves by results instead of progress. If they don't see immediate change, they quit, they collapse, they restart. But you are not one of them. You don't need external proof to know you're growing. Your soul can feel the shift, even if your eyes can't see it yet. Because momentum is spiritual. Momentum is energetic. Momentum is internal. And every step you take, even ones no one claps for, builds a fire inside you that no storm can extinguish. This fire grows through repetition, through faith, through action, not inspiration. Because inspiration is temporary. Momentum is eternal. Napoleon Hill said, "Persistence is to character what carbon is to steel." This is how your soul becomes steel. One step at a time, one promise kept, one day without surrendering. Today, you build momentum. Today, you repeat what you know moves you forward. Today, you stop restarting. Because if you stay consistent, if you refuse to stop, if you hold your ground, even on the hardest days, there will come a moment when everything that once felt heavy will become natural, and that is the birth of the unstoppable version of you. You don't need more motivation. You don't need more videos. You don't need another perfect plan that dies in your notebook. What you actually need is a code, a set of internal laws that do not negotiate, do not bend, and do not depend on your emotions. Napoleon Hill said it with brutal clarity. Self-discipline begins when your principles become stronger than your excuses. That is the line that separates ordinary people from the ones who build legacies. Most people fail, not because they lack talent, not because they lack intelligence, but because they lack a code, an inner law that tells them, this is who I am, this is what I do, no matter how I feel. So let me ask you, why don't you do what you know you need to do every day? Why do you still fall into the same patterns? Why do you keep betraying yourself? Because you haven't built a code yet. Your decisions bounce between your mood, your fears, your insecurities, your tiredness, your excuses, and every time you negotiate with your weakness, you strengthen it. Every time you break your word to yourself, your identity weakens. And every time you choose the easy path, your spirit pays the price. A code ends all of that. A code is a line you do not cross, a standard you refuse to lower, a contract with your higher self, signed in private and honored in silence. When you live with a code, you stop depending on inspiration. You stop negotiating with laziness. You stop obeying your emotional weather, because there is something more powerful guiding you, your self-respect. And that cannot be bought. It can only be built. Every time you keep your word, you earn self-respect. Every time you do the right thing, without applause, you become stronger. Every time you choose discipline over impulse, you become a leader, not a leader of others, a leader of yourself. And the one who leads himself never goes back to being the follower of his fears. Ask yourself today, what behaviors will I no longer tolerate in myself? What decisions are non-negotiable? What actions are mandatory, even on my worst days? Write them, declare them, honor them, because in a world full of people who quit, escape, distract themselves, and sell their integrity for comfort, the ones who have an unbreakable code are the ones who build a legacy. With a code, you become a different creature. Your energy changes. Your posture changes. Your eyes change. The world feels it. The universe responds to it. And here is the truth. You can fail at many things, but you must never fail at being loyal to yourself. Nobody needs to believe in you. Nobody needs to understand you. Nobody needs to applaud you. You are your own standard, your own law, your own code, and the one who respects himself never returns to the life he once tried to escape. This is the moment where average ends and greatness begins. This is where the old version of you finally dies, and the creator, the architect, the warrior, the leader inside you is born. If you've made it this far, it's because there is something inside you that refuses to stay asleep. What you felt in this message is not motivation. It's remembrance, a remembrance of the fire you once carried, of the power you once believed in, of the strength that has always lived inside you, but got buried under years of routine, fear, and silence. You were not born for mediocrity. You were not born to repeat the same life year after year. You were not born to play small in a world that needs your greatness. You were born to create, to lead, to influence, to expand. And you don't need more signs. This, right here, right now, this exact moment, is your sign. This is the spiritual alarm clock that life, the universe, and God have placed in front of your face because they're tired of watching you shrink. Don't wait. Don't rationalize. Don't negotiate. You felt the truth in your chest. You felt the energy moving inside you. You felt the old identity cracking. And that alone is the beginning. Stop waiting for someone to save you. Stop waiting for someone to believe in you. Stop waiting for circumstances to change. You are the one. You always were. And the world is not waiting for your perfection, your clarity, your certainty, your confidence. The world is waiting for your decision, because your identity doesn't change when you get results. your identity changes. When you decide that you will no longer live as the older, smaller version of yourself, this is the moment where you make a declaration to the universe, to God, and to your own soul. I'm done being who I was. Say it internally. Feel it. Let it vibrate in your bones. You're no longer the one who waits. You're no longer the one who hesitates. You're no longer the one who needs to feel ready. You're no longer the one who hides in excuses. You're no longer the one who betrays himself in silence. You're someone new now, someone who acts, someone who leads, someone who decides, someone who commands his destiny. And listen to me carefully. The world may not see it yet. Your family may not recognize it yet. You may still be surrounded by the same walls, the same routine, the same people, but your soul knows. It already shifted. It already awakened. It already chose. And when your soul chooses, your reality eventually follows. Everything in your life, your relationships, your habits, your opportunities, your future is rearranging itself around the new identity you just activated. This is not poetry. This is not metaphor. This is spiritual physics. When you shift internally, the world has no option but to shift with you, because the universe responds to identity, not desire. You want change? Be the change. Be the new version now. Move as him. Speak as him. Decide as him. Walk as him. And the world will align. You don't need permission. You don't need validation. You don't need applause. You need movement. And the moment you take that first step, even trembling, even insecure, even unclear, your entire destiny begins to open. This is not the end. This is the beginning, the point of no return, the rebirth of your unstoppable self. And from this moment forward, you will never again be the same. Now take a breath, because what I'm about to tell you is the truth you've been avoiding for years. Your life will not change tomorrow. It will not change next week. It will not change when conditions improve or when you finally feel ready. Your life changes the moment you change. And that moment is now, not later, not someday, not when the stars align. Now, because your destiny is not waiting. It's slipping away every second you hesitate. Listen carefully. You don't need another sign. You don't need another excuse. You don't need someone to push you. Everything you've heard today, everything that moved inside your chest, everything that awakened something ancient in your soul, that was for you, because you're done living small. You're done shrinking. You're done negotiating with your fears. This is your moment, the moment where your old identity dies and your new self, the disciplined one, the courageous one, the unstoppable one, finally rises. So declare it internally. This is my turning point. Say it again. Say it with power. Say it as if God himself is listening, because he is. And now, if this message shook you, if it cracked something inside you, if it made your spirit wake up from years of silence, then I need you to do something. Not for me, for you, for the person you're becoming. 1. Subscribe to Napoleon Inspires. Not because it's a button, but because this is the room where your higher self grows, where your soul remembers, where your discipline is forged, where you become the person you're always meant to be. This community is not entertainment. It's transformation. 2. Leave a comment saying, "I rise now," because that comment is your declaration, your signature, your contract with your new identity. When you write it, the universe listens. 3. Share this video with someone who needs it, because you might be the catalyst God uses to wake up another soul that has been drowning in doubt. And listen closely. This is important. You didn't find this video. This video found you, because you're ready, because you're chosen, because your calling is louder than your fear. And remember this until your last breath. You are not alone. You are not weak. You are not broken. You are becoming. And we, this family, this movement, this fire that is growing around the world, we are walking this journey together. You are now part of Napoleon Inspires. And from this moment forward, you rise, you move, you act, you become. There is no going back. This is your time, your season, your awakening. Now go and become the one you were born to be. Napoleon Inspires. The world is watching, and your story starts today.